there will never be a United States of Europe, will there?
No, non ci saranno mai, questo era
No, that was a dream that will never come true.
Guardi, oggi l'Unione è molto diversa.
Today's EU is different from the dreams of its founding fathers. The EU has a very imbalanced economic policy and a very imbalanced tax policy, and they don't have a foreign policy. When we had a meeting with the heads of state, I proposed to have just one president, and I suggested Tony Blair, because he was really charismatic.
George Bush,
George Bush, a good friend of mine, rang me up and asked me who to speak to in order to understand the European position in Iraq. And I told him to try to contact everybody.
sono molto preoccupato in questo momento per quello che
I am very concerned about what the European Union is doing and its behavior towards the Russian Federation, with these absurd sanctions that the EU and the USA are imposing on people who they think are close to Putin. In doing that, they are putting a distance between our countries, and this could mean that Russia returns to the sort of isolation of the Cold War.
si ritiri ancora in una solitudine come quella della guerra fredda.
The euro was always a political project. In your judgment, is Europe growing apart or continuing to grow closer?
E quindi noi dobbiamo fare un'opera molto forte di cambiamento.
We need to radically change the situation in Europe. For example, the fact that the UK is not in the Eurozone and we are is a complete disaster. We need radical changes, otherwise the economic situation will force us and other European countries to abandon the euro and go back to our national currencies.
È necessario che la Banca Centrale Europea, che oggi
The European Central Bank is supposed to fight inflation, and it needs to become a central bank, like the Federal Reserve, like the Bank of England or the Bank of Japan.
banca centrale, come la vostra banca, come la Federal Reserve, come la Banca del Giappone. E cosa deve fare questa banca centrale?
What does it need to do? Firstly, it needs to guarantee the debt of the euro countries, and secondly, to print money when needed for those countries that cannot pay their debts.
In scadenza nei paesi che non possono.
Do you have a particular problem with Angela Merkel? Is it true you called her an unfuckable lardass?
Non arriverei, io non ho mai.
But, all right,
Scusi, non ho mai, in 20 anni di politica, insultato nessuno.
No, I have never had any problems with Angela Merkel. In 20 years of politics, I have never insulted anyone. And this has been made up by someone who wanted to turn Angela against me.
È chiaro quindi che non ero un personaggio comodo.
I was not an easy person to deal with, and I was quite tough. I had the courage to oppose some of the proposals made by Merkel and Sarkozy.
Proposte che venivano dal duo Merkel-Sarkozy.
And the time when you jumped out from behind a monument and went cuckoo to Angela Merkel, that was just a joke, was it?
Ma lei?
She enjoyed it. I explained why I did the cuckoo thing. A few days earlier, I had been to St. Petersburg to visit Putin.
A San Pietroburgo per incontrare Putin. Putin si nascose dietro un pilastro, io andai verso la porta, lui da dietro mi fece cucù. Allora,
Putin hid behind the pillar and did cuckoo to me from behind.
Di grande confidenza.
Merkel and I were really on good terms, so when she came to Trieste, I thought of what Putin had done, and I basically hid behind the monument and did the same thing.
Gli spiegai che era stato Vladimir Putin a farlo a me qualche giorno prima. Ma questo per dirle i rapporti di grande
It was funny.
che esistevano tra di noi.
This only matters because At this level of European politics, personal relationships are hugely important, aren't they?
Sarkozy ha temuto.
With Sarkozy, it's a different matter. He feared that my friendship with Gaddafi would stop Libya supplying France with oil and gas. So he moved first to attack Libya and Gaddafi, and I think it was a big mistake.
In your analysis, what is wrong with Italian politics? I mean, you've had 3 prime ministers in the last year.
Tutto.
Everything.
Intanto
Italy is no longer a democracy.
in 20 anni abbiamo
In the past 20 years, we've had 4 examples of coup d'etat.
abbiamo addirittura
Recently, we've had 3 successive governments that were not directly elected, with Monti, Letta and Matteo Renzi.
oggi noi abbiamo la scadenza elettorale come tutti i paesi dell'Europa il 20.
The deadline for the European elections is looming, and we face 2 major threats for the future. The first is the remaining risk of a left-wing government, and the other, you've probably heard of him, is from Mr. Beppe Grillo. He is a real danger to Italy, and I am very concerned.
Il nostro paese e io ne ho paura. Lui assomiglia alle caratteristiche.
His behavior reminds me of some of the most bloody and dangerous characters in history. He has many things in common with Robespierre, Stalin and Pol Pot, so he's not someone to be taken lightly.
Da prendere alla leggera.